Let's talk about your assessment and programming process when you're working with a basic language profile. Hi, I'm Dr. Megan, and I guide people in growing, learning, and fostering connection and curiosity. In an earlier video, I talked about the process for programming with advanced language profile. Today, we're going to talk about a basic language profile. Do want to give the disclaimer, these labels are completely arbitrary. It just was the easiest way to create a visual that I made around how people can decide what they should be doing assessment and programming wise, depending on where their clients are performing with language. I'll put that visual at the end of this video so you all can see what I'm talking about. So for the purposes of this decision-making process, a basic language profile refers to clients who have emerging language. They're usually engaging in some form of requesting or manding, and we're starting to see some tacting, maybe a little bit of interverbals, and definitely some listener responding as well, but it's not quite where we would expect it to be based on their age. And when I say this language is happening, it doesn't have to be vocal language. It's any form of communication. So it could be signs, it could be gestures, picture exchange, AAC, but you're seeing these different verbal operants within their communication. So the first thing I'm assessing when I have a client with this type of profile, I'm using the TARPA by Dr. Siri Ming and colleagues to assess their relational abilities, especially looking at coordination. If they pass the various exercises and activities within TARPA, then I would be moving into focusing on further assessment and programming using PEAK, specifically equivalence and transformation. If they don't pass the different sections of TARPA, then I would be working on doing more training and testing with them in whatever sections they don't pass. So for example, TARPA has a section where you're training the tact and testing for the derived listener response. They also have training the listener response and testing for the tact, and there's some other exercises and activities in there as well. So whatever part of that is not being performed, especially in the testing format, I would be focusing in on programming relating to those areas. In addition to focusing on TARPA and PEAK, I would also be looking at the different phases of derived relational responding and assessing to make sure that we have foundations of generativity. If the foundations of generativity are present, then I would move into building derived relational responding through the frame of coordination, and then finally getting to our equivalence-based teaching. This is all based off of the work that Dr. Siri Ming has done. If you're not familiar with her work and her colleagues, definitely you need to check it out. Go to siriming.com and you can find all sorts of information on there to get more guidance about what does it mean to assess foundations of generativity and all of these words that I'm using right now. But basically, it's a really well organized scope and sequence when we have clients in this kind of like middle area, especially where they have emerging language and communication, and we're ready to start promoting derived relational responding and generative learning, but we don't want to start at a level that's too far advanced and too difficult. So using Dr. Ming's materials, you can kind of zoom in and figure out what you should be working on and prioritizing to help build this generative language. I'm going to dive in on the additional 2 profiles in future videos. So if this discussion around language profiles and what it is that we're assessing and programming is relevant to you, make sure to give me a follow. And after I finish talking, I will share the picture that I was talking about that has the different phases of language development.